This is the Dork Side News Network, and this just in.
When's the first time you heard about Morbius, Byron?
When I was researching more for Blade, jumping into that, I came across Morbius. Like I said, I realized when he bit into Blade, that kind of kicked his vampire gene into overdrive and made him superhuman. Super vampire.
Super something. Something super.
Yeah.
He's super being. I don't even know. I don't even know what to call him.
So that's one of the one of the interesting components of Morbius that we're going to talk about is his sometimes infectious nature and sometimes not.
Well, sometimes he's just a thing, and sometimes he's a man bat, but not Batman. But
but who are we, James?
We did this last time. We failed miserably. So you're Rich.
I am, and you are James.
I did it. All right. And we actually have Mahershala Ali himself here. Oh, I'm sorry. We have one of our favorites here. Who are you?
I am Byron Xten Smith.
Times 10. Not times 9, times 10.
Times 10.
We got to start this thing. Hold on. There we go.
He's starting a competition with other Byrons. And pretty soon they're going to be like, I'm times 11.
It happens. It happens.
I don't know of another times 1, so I think you're doing good so far. All right, so if you guys couldn't tell by our failed cold open, it was actually like a warm open, I guess.
Yeah.
We're talking about Morbius today. It's going to be a quick, and by quick I mean 30-minute, because ours is never quick for anything we do.
Yeah.
A quick rundown of the anti-hero or villain or whatever you want to call him, because he's been everything. Morbius, because Jared Leto's coming out and doing the Morbius thing,
And that trailer was awesome.
yeah.
I liked it.
How do you feel? So let's get this out in the air right now. How do you feel about Jared Leto as Morbius to begin with?
I didn't know Jared Leto. Leto?
I think it's Leto. Pretty sure it's Leto.
I didn't know him before his failed Joker film. And I thought it was interesting just from because I like the makings of movies, and I liked how he would play pranks, like delivering dead rats and stuff like that. I get it. I love method actors.
Yeah.
So I love how he approached it, and I don't blame him for the character design, because he had probably almost nothing to say about that character design, right? They just gave it to him. But I didn't know about him before, and I didn't hold it against him. And in this trailer, I thought he was amazing. I thought it looks really interesting in a way that I didn't think I'd ever be really interested about Morbius.
Just seems more fitting for him than Joker. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. We've had enough Joker, in my opinion. I don't think we need any more Joker for a while, because we've had how many Batman movies, and then we had the Joker movie itself, which it was. I'm still warring with myself because I want to say it was a good movie, but then I don't know, because there's parts I didn't like. I don't know, but the Joker movie aside, Jared Leto, I've known him for a while. I've known him when he was singing, when he was a rock star. Because he did that. I believe it was 30 Seconds to Mars.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
I love 30 Seconds to Mars. So
I'm gonna make sure so I'm not pulling your chain, but I'm pretty sure
30 Seconds to Mars, yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure
those music videos were crazy. They're real
they were
weird.
always
now I'm more interested in this person that I had no idea who he was before.
Singer-songwriter, yep, 30 Seconds to Mars.
Wow.
Lead singer.
Suddenly I'm a huge fan of his that I didn't know.
Wow. You're like, the Joker movie sucks. He's the lead singer for 30 Seconds to Mars. Actually, you know what? The Joker movie's not so bad. But yeah, so let's get on Morbius. So let's figure out how he got started. If you guys haven't seen the trailer yet, watch it, because it's basically going to explain what we're going to explain right now. But if you guys don't want to watch the trailer and you just want to hear us talk, Morbius is a man. And his origin story is that he was not bitten by a vampire. Dr. Michael Morbius was experimenting on himself because he had a rare blood disorder that if he didn't fix, he would die, because that's how villains and superheroes are made.
And so far, that origin from the comics and that background we see in the trailer match. Yeah. I'm just going to be kind of pointing out where I think they don't match.
Yep.
Yep.
So it gets down to the point where he's either going to die or he's going to cure himself of this disease. And so instead of taking the time to experiment on animals, because he doesn't have any time, he uses a vampire bat's blood and electroshock therapy to try and cure himself. And he does ish.
Well, I mean, he's definitely not going to die.
Yeah.
So if that was his goal, he's not going to die.
Yeah. So he did cure himself of a disease, but unfortunately he got side effects. Or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it. I don't know. Super strength and all that stuff. Actually, so he did get superpowers. What were they?
Which were not intended. The intent was not superpowers.
No,
right?
It was not.
And he actually was designed as kind of this tragic character because, first of all, he kills his best friend.
Yep.
Right away.
Right away. When he cures himself, he's like, okay, I need blood now. And his best friend's standing there and goes, well, your blood.
Man.
And I think that sets the bar really high because when he's distraught that he might kill his fiance,
who's also on the ship in the comics.
And if he hadn't killed his best friend, you might just say, oh, well, man up.
Right.
Like, hey, sometimes I get hungry.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just have to not eat.
Give him a Snickers.
But he killed his friend. So you already know that the hunger is more powerful than his willpower.
Yeah.
The hunger. We'll come back to that.
Okay. But in the movie, I don't think it's totally science.
I think it's I do. I mean, we saw the same trailer. I do think it's science, but I don't think his best friend had anything to do with it to help. I think in the trailer it looked like his friend was there.
Okay, so what did science have to do with a Dracula sarcophagus and standing on a clifftop face with a swarm of vampire bats coming out of a cave?
Right.
That's science, don't you know?
That's not science. There's a couple things there.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. I did forget about that part. Yeah.
Right. So there is an alternate storyline in the comics, the Ultimate Comics, where he was the son of Dracula.
The son of Dracula.
I think.
Yeah.
And so that's a more magical, supernatural origin.
Yep.
I think the movie's blending it. We've got the dying of a blood disease. You've got the electroshock therapy thing. The electric bands he's got to like put his hands through or something. But then there's like, and this could be a bait and switch. This could entirely be a bait and switch. And I guess if I'm dying and I have like a big budget, like why not? I'll go to Romania or something and like do my experiment out there. But I don't think so. I think there's, I don't think it's any vampire bat's blood. I think it's something to do with Dracula or the origin, the myth of the vampires. Like he's probably like investigating the myth of vampires and maybe they'd gone extinct maybe. And he's tracked this down to this cave, this tomb, and he's blending the science plus the magic.
Wow.
That's my prediction.
I think you're right. It could be both because it did show both in the trailer like that.
Yeah, which again can be a bait and switch because I think there's a lot going on in that trailer. We could like dissect that.
We also think there's a lot of bait and switching going on in this trailer too. Yeah. So, all right. So let's get to the powers real quick. What can he do now that he's Morbius, the man bat? I'm gonna keep saying man bat. I know
it's a DC character.
I know that there's a DC character named Man Bat and Batman, obviously, but so he. What the heck was that? Sorry, we got some color out of space stuff happening outside.
Yeah.
He's a pseudo vampire, so that means basically he has most of the stuff that vampires can do, and not so much of the bad things that vampires have. So he doesn't have the same aversions to garlic and holy crosses and stuff like that regular vampires do. He also doesn't completely die in sunlight; it just weakens him.
Yeah.
He doesn't burst into flames or anything, but he can't fight like that. But he does get super strength. He gets the power of gliding. I'm going to say what we saw. It's not flying, it's gliding, but it's flying. It's for all intents and purposes, it's flying.
Yeah.
He has mind control, which he's used a few times. And he can regenerate quickly, more quicker than humans.
Sure.
And he has this really interesting one that I thought it was cool. Transvection. So transvection is to being able to navigate wind currents because he's a bat.
Wow.
So he's got a lot of stuff that he can do.
So in the movie trailer, we see indication of a couple other powers, right? And I think the echolocation, Daredevil-esque, like seeing through sound, is that transvection?
No, transvection, from what I understand, is literally just being able to navigate wind currents, and that's all it's for. Echolocation would be...
Yeah. So they showed that off, and it looked similar to Daredevil.
Yeah. Which I'm not mad about. They did that pretty good.
Yeah, it's a bat thing. Yeah. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But did you guys see, like, it looked like he was teleporting.
It did. And so I don't know if they're saying super speed. What do you think?
It's kind of like a Nightcrawler ability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But was it clearly him, or was it possibly the other supernatural being? Well, that's supernatural, but the other...
Well, it might be supernatural.
It might be. Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know anything about it.
The other being that they show for one time as a human.
Yep.
But he could have been the one doing this other power.
Yeah.
I don't know. And that was Doctor Who. So Doctor Who is the secret villain of Morbius.
By Doctor Who, he means Matt Smith, the 11th. I always do that. The 11th Doctor.
I actually told one of my employees that, because he said, "Oh, Doctor Who's the villain in Morbius," and I was like, "There's only one Doctor Who that's allowed to be called Doctor Who outside of Doctor Who," and that is. And then he had to correct me because he's a bigger Doctor Who fan than I am, but he agreed. He was like, "Who's the other guy?"
David Tennant.
David Tennant.
Yeah.
David Tennant is the real Doctor Who. Matt Smith is cool as Doctor Who, but not as good.
Matt
as
Smith
David
has
Tennant.
some good parts, but David Tennant is Barty Crouch Jr., and that's all we need to talk about there.
So I'm very curious because I couldn't quite tell if Morbius was the one teleporting around.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they give him teleport, it's too much, Sony. Come on now.
Yeah.
Like, he really needs teleportation. Did they do it because they didn't want to give him gliding, maybe?
Well, I think it looked like there was parts where he was even flying, too.
I don't know.
They just gave him a bunch.
I just hope teleportation is the other guy in that, because you don't need one person having all that many powers.
So the teleportation from the other guy that we're talking about, who is the other guy? So it is, you got it? You want me to do it?
I only know what his, so in IMDb, it's listed as his human name.
Yep.
But I only know him from the comics as his, like, supervillain name.
Supervillain.
The Hunger. It's a great name.
Beaten only by Snickers. I'm sorry. Dr. Loxius Crown.
There we go.
Is his human name. And he is a Hydra scientist, but we talked about this earlier. I don't think Hydra's going to have anything to do with it in this story.
Yeah, I mean, Sony has licenses to all the Spider-Man characters, and that includes Morbius because Morbius first showed up in a Spider-Man comic book, right? Obviously, the Lizard, Electro, Vulture, all those characters. I don't think that Sony has access to the AIM or Hydra or a lot of those other more classical Captain America or Avengers villains. But I don't know. I haven't seen their contract, so I don't really know.
Who knows? I would love to see that contract and figure out what the hell we're doing. So that's the superpowers. And that is the supposed arch enemy that we're going to have in this movie. In reality, it seems like from everything I'm seeing and most of the stuff that I've read, his arch enemy is actually Spider-Man-ish.
Yeah.
He doesn't get along with Spider-Man at all, and that's the one he seems to fight most of the time. And then he even had something to do with Blade. And that's why you're here, Byron. You probably know all of this that we're saying and more about Morbius. So what do you see? What does he have to do with Blade?
Well, that's kind of the key. He's the one who, like I said, created the superhuman Blade. Kind of just tossed him into that superpowered world. Before, Blade was just kind of a vampire who was, half human, half vampire. Yeah. It was kind of more human than vampire. So
before Morbius, he was like vampire-ish.
Yeah.
And then after Morbius, he was, I guess, the other side of vampire-ish. Like he's still ish on that one, but then the other side. So I was going to say Dr. Morbius, but it is right, Dr. Morbius.
Yeah.
Did give Blade the bite.
And so what we know is that Blade was half supernatural vampire.
Yes.
Right.
Fighting and actually like kind of living as a kind of quasi supernatural vampire for a portion of his teens or whatever. But part of the way that he has an advantage over the other supernatural vampires is he ends up with the enhanced abilities of the science vampire that Morbius is, because Morbius is a science vampire. And they kind of emphasize that repeatedly over the decades, that what's special about Morbius compared to, because they end up introducing all these other vampires. There's
Dracula's even there at one point.
Yeah, there's whole storylines of vampires, but those vampires are all magic.
Yep.
And Morbius, on the other hand, is from science.
Science, bitch. The funniest thing too is technically they're both living vampires, Blade and Morbius.
Yeah.
But Morbius is the one known as the living vampire. That's his pseudo name, I guess, because he goes by Morbius, which is not really his pseudo name, I guess. It's his last name. So
I kind of prefer Blade's title.
Yeah. But I was going to see if I can imagine them meeting and Morbius being like, I'm the living vampire. And he's like, I'm the Daywalker. Like, shit, you got the good name. And his name is Blade.
So cool.
Take off those sunglasses. You don't need them.
Morbius is I'm all funky looking and kind of gross.
Yeah. Which, by the way, he was. So everything that I've read so far is it's kind of sad, but kind of funny to me that they keep saying that he was ugly to begin with. Like he was ugly to begin with because of his vampire powers. And then he became hideous.
Wow.
Like that's how everything I've read has described it. First he was bad, and then he was worse. Like, thanks. And then they cast Jared Leto, who is arguably not an unattractive man. So, I don't know.
They do a good job with their CG of making him look emaciated and dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his full Morbius part that we saw at the end of that trailer, he looked... Yeah. I don't know if you liked it as much as I did, but he looked fucking awesome.
He did.
Isn't that weird though? Like, because honestly, like, I don't think you would be happy if you looked like that.
Probably not. I don't know.
Like, what if you had no powers, but you looked like that? Like, you'd think it was super cool for about 5 minutes, and then you'd be like, I can't go anywhere.
Well, you could be a stunt double on the show at least.
What's weird is that looking at the comics, he kind of looks like Michael Jackson in a way.
Yeah.
He has this like...
Yeah, he does.
Later years of Michael Jackson.
He definitely does.
The nose and the eyes and everything just kind of strange.
Yeah, isn't that like, because comics are just abstractions, right? I mean, sometimes they draw them very realistic, but for the most part, you kind of have to imagine what they would look like in real life.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree that Michael's sad fixation on his nose made him look very similar to Morbius, but after I kind of realized what they were doing with the art, like as a kid, I don't think I really thought of Morbius basically kind of being born with this flat bat nose,
right?
Where
there's like slits.
I think you just solved it though. I think you just solved it. Michael Jackson is a vampire. There we go.
There you go. Solved it.
All right, so this episode is actually going pretty quick. We are at 17 minutes right now. So I told you we're going to do 30 minutes. We want to keep it short. So I want to get on to all of our favorite bits or arcs or parts of Morbius. And I'd like to start with Blade. I'm assuming you're going to say something about Blade, but I don't know. You might surprise me.
No, it is. Hands down. It's the moment where they duke it out, man. That's my favorite interaction with Morbius.
You can't go wrong with that. I mean,
yes.
A half vampire fighting a half vampire.
Exactly.
So I know that you think that I, in my Doctor Strange shirt and normally my Doctor Strange mug, but I didn't want to like drink a bunch of alcohol if we're only going to be doing this for 30 minutes, that I should say when Blade and Doctor Strange like work together. But actually, I think it's far more interesting when like all of it kind of comes together, and you've got the full cast of the Universal Studios like monsters. And this isn't just any one comic, but you have Blade interacting with the creature from the Black Lagoon at one point. for like no reason other than the fact that Morbius is this tragic vampire character before Marvel added Dracula.
Yeah.
And then you got Frankencastle.
Who is Frank Castle?
Which is Frank Castle turned into Frankenstein.
The Punisher. If you guys don't know who Frank
which is
Castle
great. You got to look that up. Actually, I'll try to include a link to one of his artworks.
That's awesome.
As Frankencastle. And I just love the idea that for really kind of no reason whatsoever, Morbius is like, he's more Dracula than Dracula in the Marvel series.
Well, so you're missing one. Simon Stroud, the former CIA agent, who is also known as Man-Wolf, which is a werewolf, again, in the Universal horror stuff, which kind of upsets me because now that we've gotten all these Universal horror legends, where the hell's the Mummy at?
Yeah, I don't know. I know DC has their Mummy. Invisible Man kind of like character, right? The bandaged character, Negative Man. I don't know of a Mummy character in.
I can't think of one.
I would love it if somebody listening to this like sends us a link to like, oh yeah, in like 1983, this one comic.
You dumbasses! Here's the Mummy right here.
Like, I don't know, maybe Human Torch lost the ability to do fire, and he had to bandage himself up, and the whole issue was him.
And he was just hungry.
Wow.
And he was just walking around. I don't know. So my favorite story arc with Morbius also happens to be one of my favorite comic book story arcs of all time. We talked about it earlier. Well, off the show, you guys didn't hear it, but we did talk about it earlier. It's the House of M. If you guys aren't familiar with the House of M, a quick 30-second rundown. Scarlet Witch gets pissed off and makes everybody believe that everything they wanted has happened. Every single person. And in this one, in this universe, Morbius is the one who gives Luke Cage his powers, which is freaking cool. And, I mean, spoiler, the House of M ends because everybody got what they wanted, which means Wolverine got his memory back, which means he remembers everything that happened prior to them being in that universe, and then he ends it.
Wow.
Is that why he remembers?
Yeah, he got what he wanted. But the one thing he wanted was to remember what happened to him. So he remembered everything.
That makes so much more sense than like I didn't catch that.
I got that. That was the first thing. I was like, that's so awesome. He got what he wanted.
He got what he wanted, which was his memories, which meant that he had
memories of what happened, how they got there.
Yeah. So in the House of M, he was like an agent, elite strike force, special forces guy. Except he wasn't, because that never happened. It just, but everybody else thought it had happened. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I totally missed that.
That's why I love the House of M so much. So much stuff happened in that one.
Yeah.
Spider-Man finally got married. I mean, I know he does in other comics, but he finally had his happily ever after, and didn't really have to be Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah, he was like a reality TV star kind of person. Super
awesome.
fun.
Yeah. So Morbius is going to have a lot of stuff. We got to talk about the one last thing in the trailer that we have been arguing about since before. There was a cameo at the end of this trailer, and we don't know what it means.
Okay. So I want to drag this back a little bit.
Okay.
Because it's related. Okay, so Blade is coming out next year?
No, I think it's further than that.
Yeah, I think 2024.
Yeah, it's really because they announced that they're going to do Blade, but they're like, we don't have a time on it.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to get Blade, and we have a Morbius now.
Yep.
And it'll be time to have like the second Morbius movie, Morbius 2 or whatever.
Probably, yeah.
For sure.
By the time that Blade is coming out. Are they ever going to meet?
Yes.
And I know the answer to this.
No. They probably will never meet.
Currently, based off of the contracts we kind of know about, they will never, ever meet.
Yeah.
Currently. Until Disney buys Sony.
Disney could buy Spider-Man back.
Yep.
Disney could buy Sony. But I think Apple's going to buy Sony. So, I mean, I don't know. But Sony's starting to make money again. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, there is no way for Blade, whose rights belong to Fox, which now has been returned to Marvel. There's no way for those characters to meet. And so we have to think about other characters. They show Spider-Man in Morbius, right?
Yeah.
But they show it's not the same Raimi suit, but it's a similar suit. It's like a suit kind of inspired by Raimi. And so in theory, they're saying that Tom Holland is going to wear this new suit because he's not allowed to have Iron Man tech in the non-Disney related movies.
I was just gonna be like, why? But because of the contract. That's why. Yeah,
because the contract.
He's not allowed to have Iron Man armor because Iron Man doesn't belong to.
So they won't mention the glasses. They won't mention any Iron Man stuff. They won't mention the snap.
They're gonna do some really dumb shit like, did your eyes get better? Like, yeah, I don't need glasses anymore. Ha ha.
Wow.
So all that stuff is gonna get popped in.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, again, they're constantly negotiating. And so, as part of that, they may or may not be allowed to have the Vulture.
Now, why are we bringing up the Vulture?
Because that last scene.
Yep. We never actually said what it was.
Yeah.
So the last scene shows Michael Keaton smiling at the camera with his hand on a van, which, by the way, also says, what was it, the Hunter or Craven? I think it says Craven on that. So that's 2 of the Sinister Six, I believe. I think Craven's one. Yeah. And so it could be that he's going to have a cameo and then it's going to tie into the Sinister Six, maybe?
This is crazy.
Yeah. It's so weird when the unknowns are not really what the writers come up with. It's not like this is like a crazy unexpected twist that the writers came up with. This is actually an unexpected twist that the lawyers might come up with. They might literally have Michael Keaton in there smiling so that you can see him. And so then they never say he was the Vulture. Ever. And you're like, did he escape from prison? What happened? But then they're like, okay, Disney, are you going to let us use him or not?
Wow.
I'll give you the 3 options that's going to happen in the movie. Either Michael Keaton is the Vulture.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton is just a regular person and he's just there for, just throw curveballs or to bait and switch. Or the more likely option, he's Batman. No, I know Batman's not in this universe. You never know, though. They've done work.
But come on, Batman versus Man-Bat.
That would be awesome.
Wow.
This is the team up of Warner Brothers and Sony to screw Disney.
Yep.
Wow. Why not?
And it's funny, too, because joking aside, there's no reason that can't happen.
No,
there's really no reason because Sony, they have the rights to Morbius, and Warner Brothers could just be like, hey, if you want to put Batman in there for the hell of it, I don't care. Do it.
If they do that, that's the kind of like spite, that's the kind of saltiness
Very true.
that caused Marvel to cancel Fantastic Four.
I could just see the conversation between all the heads. Like, what are you going to do? Put Batman in your thing? Actually.
I believe we will.
I personally think he is not the Vulture.
I think he is.
And the reason why I think he's not the Vulture is because of the same stupid crap that happened in Venom, where Eddie Brock did not work for the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
He was from New York City, living in Los Angeles, which is fine. That could happen in the comics. What doesn't make any sense is why did he work for the Daily Globe?
Did it show that in the trailer, though?
Venom? It was in the movie.
Oh, okay.
They were like,
I tried to blank that movie out, so I was like,
but you liked Venom, right?
I liked it, yeah.
Yeah, because
I liked, again, we've talked about this before, other stuff. I liked Venom for a movie. I didn't like Venom for comic book.
Exactly. I think I feel the same way.
Because if you're trying to follow the comic book, they looked up the word Venom and they were like, and they just threw the rest of the comic book out the window. Because, like, even his, he doesn't work in the same spot that he's supposed to work at.
Well, again, I'm okay with Eddie Brock getting fired in the past and then moving somewhere else. That's fine.
Yeah.
But why would they have him not have his past be the same New York, like the same newspaper?
Maybe the contracts again. Maybe they weren't allowed to say it. I don't know. So that instead you got him working at what, InfoWars, which was something like that. I don't know.
Again, but they mention his past.
Yeah.
Why even mention his past then? Like, why say that he used to work for the Daily Globe?
But with him working at the Daily Globe, I'm saying the InfoWars thing because that's what it looked like at the end of the second Spider-Man. or third. I don't remember which one it was. Where J. Jonah Jameson's there, so maybe he was working for Jameson. I don't know.
What if he's
at the
going
Daily Globe?
At the Daily Globe, the Infowars.
Why? But why would they change it?
To
spit in fans' faces, like what?
That's exactly why I don't think the Vulture is a bait and switch.
Because you don't think they would spit in people's faces twice?
No.
No.
Did you think they would do it the first time?
Probably, yeah. I felt like not that specific scene, but I did feel like they were gonna do something that was gonna be like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted, or that wasn't in the trailer, or or that was in the trailer, and where the hell is it at now?
We will see. But I have seen Sony spit in people's faces so many times.
What do you think, Byron? You think it's Vulture or not?
I think it is Vulture. Yeah, definitely. It has to be, man. Like, don't do it to us, man. Just give us Vulture and everybody.
Now, we know the original Sinister Six does not include some of these people, but Sony could also be working towards that because they have the rights to that too.
Yeah.
Right? The Sinister Six.
They do?
So that means if they made a new Sinister Six, we'd have 4 already. We'd have Vulture, Venom, Morbius, and Mysterio, technically, if he's still...
Yeah. I personally would rather see the Sinister Six be multiple movies and have one of the movies be Spider-Man and Venom fighting off this secret organization who've banded together to defeat Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because Venom's an anti-hero, and they fight, and then they have to work together, and then they end up defeating.
Or
whoever.
Better yet, the one arc that every Venom fan wants is Venom teaming up with Spider-Man to fight Carnage, which is what they were teasing that they were going to give us.
Oh, is Carnage Sinister Six? No,
I don't think he's Sinister Six.
No.
But no, that's what I'm saying. That's the one thing that a lot of Venom fans really want was that Carnage at the end, that Venom and Spider-Man are going to team up to beat Carnage, because for all intents and purposes, there's no way Venom can fight Carnage by himself. Unless they do some crazy comic book movie crap where,
I don't know.
Scarlet Witch is now like a wizard.
Basically, the only thing I want is I hope that they don't put Morbius in the Sinister Six, and I hope they never put Venom in the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. These are anti-heroes. They should fight, and then they should end up working together against a common foe. I don't care if it's Sinister Six, Carnage, or whoever, but the Sinister Six is like some iconic characters, and
for sure.
I don't want them to throw it away because they're like, well, let's reuse these characters. We already made movies. Marvel wouldn't do that.
Joke's on you. It's going to be the Sinister Seven. They're just going to throw that shadow. So of all the things that have happened, though, with all the Spider-Man stuff, if there is one thing I want more than anything else, it's to see Dr. Olivia come back as Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Oh man,
because that was a cool version of Doc Ock.
That's actually my favorite version of Doc Ock.
It's tied for my favorite version because my other favorite version of Doc Ock is from the Spider-Man game.
Yeah,
where he was your friend at the beginning and he was super nice and then he just kind of lost his shit and did Doc Ock things.
We know they want, because of how successful Spider-Verse was, we know that they want to do some live action work with those characters. So hopefully,
and we already know that we got a Spider-Verse 2 coming. It's already been announced, the release date and everything. It's 2 years from now, but we're still excited about it. Go Miles.
Yeah.
All right. Any other Blade trivia things you want to throw on before the end?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I do want to ask, wasn't there a movie with like Scorpion or something in it? Was that the recent Spider-Man or was that the...
Spider-Verse had Scorpion in it. It was the Spanish Scorpion.
I feel like it was the live version though.
I don't know.
Was that Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that kind of introduced?
If it was either that one, which I don't think, or it might have been the Suicide Squad. And as just a quick there's a person.
Because I remember
Suicide Squad DC?
Or no, it wouldn't be. See, I keep doing that all day.
Yeah, all day.
Well, you never know.
It's Batman, not Man-Bat.
You never know. Warner Brothers, Sony, they could be like, which is bad because I'm saying Warner Brothers and not DC.
So I loved Scorpion. He's like one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. So I want to see what they do with him.
My absolute favorite Spider-Man villain is Mysterio. And I think he did really good with that. But my second favorite one is Sandman.
Nice. And that's what I feel like I've seen all of them, man.
They had Sandman.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
No. they had the makings of Sandman at the end of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they just never did anything with it. Because it was at the end of it.
Okay.
I think it was Venom, Spider-Man, and Sandman all fighting.
Yeah.
At the end of that movie.
That's what I thought.
That's what I'm saying. They had the makings of the Sandman thing, but they were just like, here's Sandman and we're done.
Yeah.
They never actually did anything with it. I like Sandman a lot.
Yeah, I like Sandman a lot too. I like the character design of Mysterio.
Yeah.
But he's just so weak in terms of like he can't really do much. And a lot of the Spider-Man villains are really
and that's
ineffectual.
again, that's where I think Morbius is going to kind of shine too. Is the one thing that they keep stressing too is he's PhD genius level intellect. Like he's super smart. So seeing him not just use his bat-like abilities, vampire abilities, but seeing him outsmart something is going to be super awesome.
Yeah.
And I hope that they put something like that in there where he just outsmarts somebody.
Oh, I definitely hope they highlight his intelligence.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. That makes him a good anti-hero because he's got his dark things he can't, like his impulse control, but it makes him kind of a poor villain against Spider-Man unless he has some reason to fight Spider-Man. Because most of the time when he's in like an animal mode, then it's just powers. It's just like who's stronger, who's faster. But when he's smarter, it's like, well, if he needed Spider-Man's blood to do something, then he'd be thinking about it and he'd be planning, and that's where the cool stuff would be of his intelligence.
I just realized how bad we are at this. We went the whole segment without mentioning that yes, Morbius is a vampire. Yes, he does require blood to live. We didn't say that the whole time. I just realized it.
Well,
his bloodlust is what gives him his extra abilities too.
We talked about him wanting to eat, him eating his assistant and him wanting to eat. Yeah, I mean,
we didn't say that.
It was implied, guys. It's implied.
Yeah,
it's blood. He wants blood.
Blood.
And then the last thing I know it has really nothing to do with it other than the fact that vampires.
Yeah.
The Dracula show on Netflix, super cool.
Is it? I haven't watched it yet.
It takes a weird turn, but it's the same type of setup that Sherlock was. It's 3 episodes, but they're hour-and-a-half episodes.
That's better.
I like it like that.
Yeah.
And it's growing on me. It starts off really awkward, and the last episode I know is going to be really awkward because of what happened. So I'm on the last episode, so we'll see. But yeah, it's pretty good. You guys should watch it.
Cool.
All right, that was our Morbius. Shallow dive, medium dive. You have knowledge now of Morbius, so you can go to.
You have the knowledge.
You have some knowledge. On that note, we're the Dork Side News. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.